Have you ever heard that old proverb, where there's a will, there's family? Writing your will might be something that causes you to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but really, it's the biggest act of love and kindness that you can gift to your family and loved ones. Hi, Nancy Beauvais here with Agape and Next Steps. I wanted to address the issue of how to go about writing your will and keeping peace in the family. So often, people think that they don't need to write a will. They think that they don't own enough, they don't have enough money, they're not wealthy enough. But in reality, everybody who has family, everybody who has anything should create a will. A will is going to be your final say. That is a legal document that makes sure that your loved ones, your beneficiaries, your heirs, the people that you love, who you leave behind, not only have clear direction, but the legal authority to work on your behalf to close out your estate and to pass on your assets, your possessions, anything that you had on this plane that you would like to pass on to those people that you loved. Now, often what happens too is when people do create a will, they overlook some key components to that will. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that can go missing. If you create a will, but it's not executed properly, when you die, it will be invalidated by the courts, and you may as well have not even bothered to create that document. So how do you make sure that your will is going to be valid? Well, there are different rules in different jurisdictions, and you do have to make sure that you are following those rules based on the estate laws in the jurisdiction that you reside in. There are also instances, if you own property in a jurisdiction outside of where you live, that can impact as well how your estate gets settled. Typically, what happens is people don't execute the document correctly. They don't name an executor. They don't sign properly. They print their will and then make a change on it and don't have it validated. There's a number of ways that a will can become invalidated, which is why I always suggest that although there are lots of free will kits, free downloadable resources where you can create your own will, by all means, do so, but make sure that you then take that document to a paralegal, a lawyer, even a certified executor advisor like myself, to review it and make sure that there's nothing missing. Sometimes your will actually become a more complex or complicated document than what you really think that it is. There are lots of examples of what can create complexity. Have you been married before? Do you have children from another relationship? Did you name an executor? Has your executor passed away? Do you still even speak to that executor? A will is an important document in that it covers off things like naming that executor, making sure that you have somebody who you trust, who will be able to close out your estate, follow your wishes, who is good at detail, and will distribute your assets as you have laid out legally in your will. You have to make sure that that executor knows that they cannot have creative license and decide that you didn't treat somebody fairly or somebody else unfairly and even the scales. They are obligated to follow your wishes according to the will. A will is also where if you have any minor or dependent children, you make sure that you've named a guardian. You don't want to pass away and have your children left up to the state to decide what they're going to do, where they're going to be housed, who will take care of them. This week in the article on the website, the link is in the description box, I give you 9 points about how to make sure you write your will correctly. I'm going to just mention a couple on here, and then I invite you to go over and check out the article on the website. I also have a downloadable document there where you can download and take a look at the lighter side of these 9 points. So one of the things is that what you need to do with your will is make sure that you list your assets. What are your assets? Who gets what? It might help if you actually have this list put together before you create your will so that you don't miss anything and end up having to make a codicil or amend your will in the future. Now, of course, a will is not a one and done, and things will change over the course of your life. People will move away, people will get married, people will get divorced, people will die. So you do have to make sure that you do update your will whenever any big life changes occur in your life. Another thing that you want to do is make sure that you think about your digital footprint. We are living in a very technologically advanced and very digital world compared to our parents' generation or even my generation. And we have our digital footprint everywhere. We have social media accounts. We have online banking. We have credit cards that we access online. We have debit cards. Make sure that you have those passwords, those usernames stored somewhere. What about cloud storage for your photos, your images? Make sure that your executor knows where to find that so that that can be dealt with after you pass away. Make sure that you've made note of sentimental items and who's to get them. You could always resolve that issue if you wished by giving some of those sentimental possessions away prior to your passing, unless you still want to enjoy them. But make sure that you have a record somewhere about who gets what of those sentimental items, and that'll avoid a lot of family feuds later. Now, I know one family, there was a 6-month feud that went on over a vase. It had different meanings to different members of the family, and there was a real fight about it, and it creates a rift, it creates conflict, and often relationships never heal from these things, and they never get back on track. So instead of perhaps causing that chaos in your family, with your loved ones, just take the time to write down who gets that vase and why. The main thing to remember is you don't have to do this alone. If you don't know where to start, if you need some advice on how to get your affairs in order and get started on your estate planning, I'm a certified executor advisor, and I can sit with you, I can guide you and your family on how to set this out, how to structure it, so that you're well armed, well prepared when you go and see that paralegal or that lawyer who will draft your final copy. And don't forget to hop over to the website and check out that article and download your copy of the top 9 things that you need to do right now to prepare your will and avoid fighting over grandma's vase. Thanks very much for joining me this week. I look forward to sharing more with you next time. Bye for now.